Hello everyone, I'm Pham from Vietnam, and today's video is gonna be about coronavirus, COVID-19, and my idea of how people's perception of freedom in different countries affect the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. According to some of the news that I've collected so far, I was able to come up with a conclusion that countries, especially in the Occidental region, value more freedom than the Oriental countries, where people must strictly follow the laws. So in the case of COVID-19, policies that are implemented by government tend to be followed more easily in the Oriental regions, as people didn't dare to question against the laws. However, in the Occidental countries, when there are laws forbidding people from close interaction with others, no talking, no hugging, no kissing or shaking hands, and people must wear masks whenever they are out seeing each other, the citizens tend to resist and question if their rights for freedom to do such things should be restricted like that. I think they are not used to the change in culture or the change created by COVID-19, so they express their annoyance in the form of violence and protests. So what's the result of that? Most Oriental countries can avoid the worst outcome of COVID-19 and could subside the pandemic mostly because laws are strictly implemented, disregarding of whether people would want it or not. On the other hand, some Occidental countries are late at implementing the law, and it is not effective, as people were disobeying the law to protect their own rights for freedom. And so the level of sick and dead people is far higher, even when the pandemic is not originated close to those countries. Here are some of the data that I've collected. These countries are close to the Oriental region, including Vietnam, South Korea, and Australia, and we can all see that the numbers of dead people as well as people getting infected is rather low. And we can see that my country, Vietnam, has almost 0 cases of death, and it is expected that in the near future there will be no new cases within the community. So it is a good news. Yay! This map shows some confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Asia, and we can clearly see that the number of people getting infected is quite low. The highest number is only around 125,000 people in India. As for the confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Europe, Middle East, North Africa, as well as the United States, we can clearly see that the number of people getting infected is rather high, around several 100,000 people, and in the United States there are up to 1.63 million people getting infected. Wow, that's a horrible, terrible number. So here are some of the examples that I've collected. There are several cases of beating, shouting, resisting, and even shooting people on American streets and in shops or supermarkets during the COVID-19 period. These events mostly happened because when staffs tried to remind customers to put on masks or to obey social distancing, the customers would feel annoyed because they thought that it was their freedom to decide whether they would obey or not. So this kind of mindset, I believe, is the result in lots of unjustifiable and unfair deaths. Some people would also think that only yellow Asian people should wear masks, and several cases of discrimination in school, workplace, and society in general has made it difficult, especially for the Asian students and workers, to come to America or the European countries. Here are the pictures of Sweden street. In this country, not just the people, but the government themselves didn't even bother implementing the laws to protect their own people from COVID-19. The government thought that even if they didn't do anything, people would voluntarily understand what they should do and conduct self-distancing. I think this is completely contradicting with what my country, Vietnam, has been doing, and in my opinion, I can't seem to agree with that method. I mean, why would people want to risk a few hours hanging out with their friends and families while they can just wait for the disease to die down and then do whatever they want with whoever they want in the future? I mean, it would be safer that way, and they would not risk catching the disease. So, in my conclusion, I think that the biggest factor that explain why there's such a vast difference in the number of infectious people around the world is probably due to the difference in mindset and perception of what is acceptable and unacceptable. So these characteristics and behaviors are mostly influenced due to the difference in living condition, daily lifestyle of people staying in that particular region, and all of these factors explain why some countries are able to subside the disease better than others. So this is the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.